All right, everybody, we are back, and today we're looking at the coolest trophy in triathlon. Steve McKenna's celebrations are catching on. Jan Frodeno is a little bit upset alongside a lot of you and a lot of the other pros, to say the least. We saw Jackson Laundry twice in a weekend, and Max Newman's performance is going to land him on the PTO rankings. Tamara Jewett is running like crazy. We've got a new segment for the show, and we've got some giveaways. 5 minutes on the clock as always. My name's Travis. I'm feeling a little better, as you might be able to tell, and I'm so ready to dive into the triathlon weekly news with you. And first of all, we're going to start off with the highlights from this week's racing, and we're going to start with the short course versus the long course battle at Clash Daytona. It was the true end of season race feels here, as people were going for broke, and a lot of the short course athletes got away early on the swim, and Tom Bishop made a big move. But it was the cool man himself, Vincent Luis, who took the top spot, honestly with a very comfortable win in the end, but he was chased hard by Jason West and João Pera, who had some extremely fast run splits. On the women's side, it was Sarah Perez-Sala who looked excellent from the beginning, leading out the swim, taking out the bike hard, but it was Angelica Olmo, the short course athlete, who took over everyone on the run and had an emotional victory as she almost quit the sport a couple years ago. Alongside Vincent Luis, she earned what to me is the coolest trophy in triathlon, and I really do love what Clash is doing. They add such a different dynamic to triathlon racing. For example, the transition bonuses that they give to athletes is so fun to spectate, and I think it's great for the athletes as well. Let me know what you think about Clash races down below, and if you loved watching the event. Alright, and on to Indian Wells 70.3, and we had a standout performance for me from Tamara Jewett. She held the gap more than she usually does on the bike, but Paula Findlay managed to create just too much of a buffer, as she always bikes so well, and here she managed to run well again with a 1:20 split. She said it was a tough race for her, however, and Tamara Jewett only ended up finishing 47 seconds behind her. Remember, Tamara was working at a law firm up until 2 weeks ago, and so she is now one to watch for the future, in my opinion, with those crazy running splits now having the first and second fastest half Ironman splits of all time. Danielle Lewis finished in third, and it was Jeannie Metzler on her comeback getting fourth place. And over on the men's side, we were expecting that showdown between Sam Long and Lionel Sanders that we were hoping for, that we usually get. But on the swim, Lionel had a panic attack, as the commentators called it, and he had to stop and take a breather. However, Lionel was back on the bike and pushing hard as ever to get himself within touching distance by the end of the race. Jackson Laundry, who we saw racing at Clash Daytona, was also racing here, who somehow made the trip in a couple days all the way across the country. Sam Long and Jackson Laundry managed to make their way through the field on the bike, and it was those two going head to head on the run. Sam was just a little bit too powerful for Jackson, who was probably feeling the Clash Daytona in his legs. The elastic finally snapped, and it was Sam who took home a very emphatic win to end his season. Some excellent times from these guys and a fantastic race. Over in Brazil, we had Andre Lopez from Boulder, Colorado, and his partner Rachel Olsen perform extremely well in the Challenge Florianopolis race. Alright, and over to Ironman Western Australia, where we had one of the best performances of the entire year. Steve McKenna was making his third Ironman appearance, and he was looking to take on defending champion Matt Burton and also Kona fourth place Max Newman. Steve and Max were with each other on the swim, and on the bike it was Matt Burton who was charging, setting a new bike course record. But Max Newman was just too good in all three disciplines, and by halfway on the bike he had a 4-minute lead. Patrick Nielsen was the main challenger outside of Australia, and unfortunately he had to pull out. And then onto the run, and well, we know Max Newman can run, but we knew Steve McKenna could run well too. But Max Newman just kept slowly pulling away and was within 1 second of Alistair Brownlee's course record and couldn't quite make it despite a sprint finish. Steve McKenna had a fantastic performance, which will earn him some good points for the end of the year. But speaking of good points, and Max Newman is going to get some serious points here. Alistair Brownlee got 107 last time around for that time, and I reckon Max Newman will get the same here, which will more than likely put him ahead of Sam Laidlow in 4th place for the year. This is a mind-blowing result for Max Newman, as most of us didn't really know who Max Newman was before this year. Over to the women's race, and it was Lottie Wilms who took it out hard on the swim and the bike, but she finished up in 3rd place in her first ever Ironman with an impressive 8:52. It was Els Visser in 2nd place, who also had a fantastic performance, but it was Sarah Crowley who made history, becoming the first professional athlete to win all 3 Ironman Australia races in the calendar year, following her victory at Port Macquarie and Ironman Cairns. What a great race for her and a great season. She'll be one who is in hot form for Kona next year. Alright, that brings us on to the new segment, the top 5 performances. For me personally, I've got to put my money where my mouth is, and for me, this is it. Max Newman, Vincent Luis, Tamara Jewett, Jackson Laundrie, Angelica Almo, and then the one to watch for me is Tom Bishop after his performance at Clash Daytona. Let me know yours in the comments below. And speaking of top performances and awards, the Global Triathlon Awards is coming up in January, and the nominations have just all been announced, so go check it out. Lots of interesting categories, and we're going to work with them going forward in the future. Alright, on to the Kona reaction. And it was Jan Frodeno who kicked it off with an incredible video on Instagram, pretty much trolling Ironman. It's been interesting to note that he has since been in talks with Ironman since this video, and he hasn't released anything for his plans coming up in 2023, and it was really funny to see PTO commenting on his post hoping he'll be doing their tour in 2023. And I think a lot of people wouldn't mind seeing this happen and potentially create a PTO Tour World Championship that happens to be in Hawaii. And I think I was definitely wrong with the 50-50 split on the reaction, as it seems like most people are still fuming over the decision. 1,400 comments on Ironman's announcement on Facebook, and it looks like there might even be some lawsuits coming up for the company. I think Max Newman shares the sentiment of a lot of age group athletes.
I mean, I do this sport because of Kona, and now that it's going to be, well, we don't know, but somewhere in Europe, I definitely don't feel as motivated to go. So I think next year will definitely be a different year for me. Yeah, I think I'll try some new different racing, and hopefully in 2 years' time we can head back there and give it a good crack.
I highly recommend heading over to Triathlon Insights YouTube channel and checking out their full interview with Andrew Messick if you want additional details. But I'm going to leave you with this last talking point, because Alistair Brownlee came out with a reaction on Tri24/7 saying that Kona might not be a bad thing if it's moved to every other year, saying that this, for example, makes the Olympics an even bigger deal. Okay, off the Kona for a sec and back onto the PTO, and it's awesome to see that they have announced an agreement with Fox Sports to televise the highlights of the PTO races this year and hopefully in years to come. This is great for our sport, as Fox Soccer right now is currently showing the World Cup, so a massive channel, and that is massive for the growth of the sport. And lastly, we've got one little segment that I'd like to add, and that is the article of the week. You guys can suggest some for me for next week, but this week I'm going to pick the article from TriMag on Boris Stein and his retirement. He's got some interesting comments about the future of racing and how the development for middle and long distance triathlon is not so good right now. Let me know your thoughts down below. Well, if you didn't notice, I blew past the 5 minutes a long time ago, and I even gave myself 2 extra minutes in the Christmas spirit. But we've got a little bit left to talk about. I hope you stick with me, because we just made it to 3,000 subscribers, and I really wanted to thank you. This just started off as a fun hobby a couple months ago, and it is taken off into something that I can see myself doing for a long time. As always, the goals have been to help the sport of triathlon grow and to give back to the community. And one way I can think of doing that is by constantly doing giveaways. So we've got 3 giveaways this Christmas month. The first one is if you follow me on Instagram for the whole month, plus tag a friend. If you support me on Patreon, which is now live, or also on the Buy Me a Coffee membership. And lastly, if you comment on every video in the next 4 weeks, you'll have a chance to win a Morton starter pack. We've got 3 to give away, and just a fun $30 thing that I can send to you completely free of charge, all thanks to the feed. Hopefully we can do lots more of these in the future. And if you just want to support me, like I said, you can head over and join the teams at one of those memberships for as little as $1 a month. Or you could head to the description and get $80 off for the year at thefeed.com. And no real strings attached there, just free money to spend on triathlon, fueling, and recovery needs. Trust me when I say the Daily Tri in 2023 is going to get bigger and better, and I am so pumped. Thank you so much for joining along in this journey, and you're going to get to meet me soon if I ever finish editing this video where I introduce myself. So you'll be seeing a lot more of me soon, and none of you probably want to or care to, but you're going to anyway, so there you have it. Have a good one. We'll see you in the next one.